By January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle program had entered a phase of perceived reliability. Launches were regular events, often treated as predictable symbols of American progress. Public interest in this specific mission focused on Krista McAuliffe, a high school teacher from New Hampshire. She was selected to become the first ordinary citizen to experience spaceflight. Because a teacher was on board, televisions were moved into classrooms across the United States. Millions of children sat at their desks waiting for a live science lesson from orbit. The nation expected a triumphant milestone. With the mission framed as an educational success story, the public was largely unaware of the physical risks involved. At 11:38 a.m. local time, the countdown reached 0. Challenger's engines ignited, and the shuttle cleared the launch tower. For the first minute, the ascent appeared perfect. Observers on the ground watched the white plume rise into the clear sky as the crew reported all systems were functioning. At T+73 seconds, a massive fireball erupted around the spacecraft. The exhaust trail split and curved erratically across the sky, signaling the total loss of the vehicle. Mission control went silent. Families and teachers watching the live broadcast were left in a state of shock, struggling to process the sudden destruction they had seen on screen. While the visuals on television suggested a bomb-like detonation, the actual mechanism of the disaster was a localized failure that investigators would only find by sifting through the debris. The Rogers Commission was formed to analyze recovered wreckage and flight data. Their mandate was finding the specific technical trigger for the breakup. The investigation quickly clarified the nature of the event. The Challenger did not experience an internal, high-explosive blast. This schematic of the shuttle stock illustrates the real cause. A jet of superheated flame escaped from the side of a solid rocket booster, burning directly into the side of the massive external fuel tank. When the fuel tank failed, it released its pressurized contents, causing the shuttle to veer off its flight path. At twice the speed of sound, the spacecraft was immediately torn apart by aerodynamic forces. The fireball was the visible symptom of a hidden structural breach in the booster rocket. Investigators traced the leak to the joints between the booster segments. These segments were stacked vertically and required a reliable seal at every connection. This cross-section shows the solution engineers used: rubber O-rings. Their specific job was to act as flexible seals, preventing hot combustion gases from escaping through the booster joints. On the morning of the launch, air temperatures had fallen below freezing. The extreme cold caused the rubber O-rings to lose their elasticity, making them stiff and unable to maintain a tight seal. Upon ignition, the stiffened O-ring failed to expand to fill the gap. Hot gases immediately escaped the joint, beginning the chain reaction that destroyed the vehicle. The destruction of the shuttle was triggered by a physical reality as simple as rubber becoming brittle in the cold. The investigation revealed this technical vulnerability was already documented. NASA and contractors had previous evidence that O-rings could fail in cold temperatures. On the eve of the launch, engineers raised alarms about freezing weather. They warned seals might not function and recommended a delay. These warnings led to intense debates, but management ultimately overrode the engineering staff. The decision was made to proceed with the launch to maintain the mission schedule. The physical failure of the O-ring occurred because the organization prioritized launch frequency over the specific safety concerns of its technical staff. The result of that decision was the loss of 7 crew members: Francis Scobie, Michael Smith, Judith Resnick, Ellison Onizuka, Ronald McNair, Gregory Jarvis, and Krista McAuliffe. In the aftermath, the shuttle program was suspended for nearly 3 years. NASA entered a total organizational review to address the systemic failures identified by the Commission. Before returning to flight, the booster joints were redesigned and a new safety infrastructure was established. These reforms were designed to ensure that engineering warnings reached the highest levels of management. The findings of the Rogers Commission established new protocols for risk assessment and communication that remain central to spaceflight safety today. The image of the shuttle climbing into the sky remains a permanent piece of cultural history, a reminder of how quickly a moment of excitement can become a tragedy. The disaster reinforces the reality that exploration involves inherent danger and that technical warnings must never be secondary to schedule pressure. 73 seconds of flight, one ignored warning, and 7 lives lost. The lessons from that morning remain a permanent part of the checklist for every modern launch.